This is the Psychedelics Then and Now podcast with Zach Leary, a Psychedelics Today podcast. Hello, friends. This is Zach Leary. Welcome to the Psychedelics Then and Now podcast. On this episode of the show, we have an interview with Tori Deal, star of MTV's The Challenge, which is a reality television show fixture. Super interesting show, and she's a super interesting person. We'll talk more about Tori in just a second. But yeah, welcome to the show. I know I'm trying to get in a better flow of making video versions of the podcast as well. So here we are doing it. Of course, as usual, if you're interested in anything that I'm doing, please visit zachleary.net. My book is out on Sounds True. It's available everywhere wherever books are sold. Also, my Psychedelics Studies Intensive begins again on December 10th, 2025. Enrollments are now open for that. We had a great cohort last time, filled with so many amazing, wise, and intelligent, thoughtful, compassionate souls to make the cohort really meaningful. So I hope you can check that out. So yeah, on this episode of the podcast, Tori Deal, I think, as she says, I think you'll probably be in one of two camps. You either totally know who Tori is, she's pretty famous, or you don't, because maybe reality television really isn't in your wheelhouse. It's really not in mine either, except for two shows, The Challenge and RuPaul's Drag Race, which I told Tori and we laughed about. So Tori and I met on social media and kind of connected there, and her story is a really interesting one. Yeah, she's used psychedelics to help her through some mental health challenges, but I'm obviously, that's kind of why I invited her on the show. But I think more importantly than that, she uses her platform in a really meaningful way. Reality television show can be a very slippery, reality television can be a very slippery slope. But I think Tori uses her platform really well to inspire young women to be more thoughtful, beautiful. She's a meditation teacher as well, so really inviting mindfulness into that culture. And yeah, I think this interview will be different than you think it is. It certainly was for me. I really enjoyed it. She's an interesting person, an interesting character, and yeah, a different twist for the Psychedelics Then and Now podcast, no doubt about it. But I hope you enjoy it. Before the podcast rolls, there will be a little kind of interstitial, I guess, commercial around my book, which I'm still keeping in there. It's well done. Sounds True made it. So you're going to watch that first, and then it's going to go right into the interview with Tori Deal. I hope you like it. Thanks. Each substance is a unique tapestry that requires getting to know its framework, sensibilities, and language. At first, taking it may feel like a roller coaster of lack of control, but when done right, it can morph beautifully into an endless stream of bliss, knowledge, and ancient wisdom, and a view into the cosmic mirror that is your own consciousness. Tori Deal, welcome to the Psychedelics Then and Now podcast. So happy to be here with you.
Wow, Zach, it's a pleasure. Truly, I am so thankful that we've somehow found each other over social media and over the years have been lightly messaging. And now look, here we are.
I know, crazy. I know, and I really appreciate that. And you're reaching out and me reaching back in. And yeah, it's so cool to connect with you. So, a lot of people who do listen to the podcast, they might have heard your name, but I think a lot of people who listen don't know what the challenge is, and I'll say it like I'll preface it by saying, there are only two reality shows that I watch religiously, and one is The Challenge, and second is RuPaul's Drag Race. Those are
Oh
my
my God, that's amazing.
those are my two wheelhouses for reality TV. So, yeah, just what is the challenge? Tell us.
Yes. So the challenge is, I describe it as like a competition reality show mixed with trash reality TV because it's the truth.
Fair. Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on a competition reality show. I'm like a competitor. They're like, oh, like American Ninja Warrior. I'm like, yeah, like, I think that a lot of us would love to be at that level, but no, we're just regular people that we compete in these crazy things. And to be fair, like you do have to be pretty good at the challenges if you're going to be successful in the game. But it's really popular because it was the evolution of what was before known the real world. Well, technically the real world, but is still a thing or was still a thing. But it was actually road rules. And
Oh,
so it's like goes way back when to like
decades.
1998. MTV was like at its prime and they were like finally experimenting with putting people together and like filming it and just seeing what the natural whatever
Shit show,
happened.
right? Yeah.
And from that is pretty much, seasons later, now they're about to come out with their 41st season. So it's just been an evolution over the decades.
And how many have you been on?
I've been on 10.
Okay.
Actually probably more than 10, but spin-offs, they never count the spin-offs.
Okay.
I started on a season called Dirty 30. So I started on the 30th season of the challenge, which was about 10 years ago. And it's just been an absolute whirlwind. It changed my life for sure.
So, well, yeah, I mean, speaking about changing your life, so when you went, well, what was your origin show? Were you on The Real World? I don't even know.
So I joined the challenge when like they were pulling from dating shows. So it's
Oh,
even more shameful
shit. What
than
dating
me.
show were you on? I don't even know.
It was a dating show called Are You the One?
Oh my
I It's rough. It's
God.
so rough. I look back at those years and I just think about how my parents were so like excited for me to go on. And I'm like, wow, little did they know what we were all about to get wrapped up into. Because reality TV, having a following on social media and the followers of the show, it's like you either know the challenge or you don't.
Yeah.
And the followers and the fans are like cult
Yeah,
followers.
they really are. Totally. Yeah.
So they're diehards, and if they feel like you're not doing the franchise justice, they will let you know, and they'll
Yeah.
blame seasons of failure on you personally. So it's rough.
Yeah, yeah, I have noticed that. Like, I mean, we won't get too much into the weeds about certain players, but I definitely see that certain players are like they're villains and they just cannot escape being a villain, you
I
know?
know. I think about that too. And it's a microcosm for the real world because they cast so many different types of personalities. And, people always ask me, is it scripted? Is it not? It's not. It doesn't have to be scripted because you put enough people in the pot that are different and you're going to get an explosion one way or the other.
So how much of it, like, in order to succeed on the challenge, what parts, like, I guess if you had to sort of measure it out 50-50 or something, is surviving the political game and kind of the interpersonal dynamics of working with others or working against others and competing in the actual challenges?
Mm.
What's the
Yeah,
make?
it really depends on your strengths as an individual because depending on what you bring to the table, you can maneuver the game differently. For me, like I am pretty good when it comes to competing physically.
Yeah.
So there is like I get to walk around with knowing that if somebody challenges me, there's a high possibility I could come back and then that person will now have to experience the wrath of going against me politically.
Okay, that makes sense.
Whereas if other people really rely on their politics and maybe aren't the best at physical competitions, but because they're not the best, they're not a threat, and so it will carry them throughout the game. So it's just dependent on the individual.
So for people listening in the whole, reality TV being scripted or unscripted, but like, I think maybe it was the last season when you were treading water for hours, like that was real, right?
Yeah, 3 hours. It was
Oh my God.
3 hours. It was right before the final. So like the season gets played out for anybody who doesn't know, and you have little challenges throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you compete in this multi-day final, miles on end. Right before that, I had my final elimination against one of the greatest girls to ever play the game.
Mm.
I should say women, one of the greatest women to ever play the game.
Yeah.
And we had to tread water for 3 hours. And I mean, I guess she treaded for 3 hours. I treaded for 3 hours and 1 second. Like that's
Holy
really
shit.
what but we did the same amount of work. So it was, yeah,
Wild.
it was crazy.
Yeah, and I guess like, one question that I've had on it is sort of like, if you don't win,
Mhm.
like, the actual money at the end, do you feel like it's worth it? Or was it just like, oh fuck, I did all of this and I didn't win? You know?
That's a really good question. I think it's again, a personal question because I definitely approach a challenge. Like it's kind of a season where I'm away filming, and then when I come home and it's airing, I can either share about a podcast that I'm launching or a book that I've written. So I use that airing time as a way for me to catapult another creative project that I've worked on. And that is really like the flow in which I have been moving through. I
Yeah.
think if you're somebody who has a regular job back at home and you had to take time off, maybe it was great for the experience, but it's probably a lot harder to deal with the loss if there's not other streams of income once the show's airing.
Well, I definitely want to talk about all of the things you do, but kind of starting with your metamorphosis. Like, you said you originally were on this dating show, Are You the One? And like, I mean, my assumption, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, is that you've changed an incredible amount since your evolution of doing this. So who was the Tory Deal
Mm.
on Dirty 30 on that first season of the challenge? And what were you just kind of stoked to be there? And like, who were you? Who was that version of you?
God, it's so crazy to think back to, and there's so many like little cringes happening in my body. I'm like, ah! Like, most people are like, oh yeah, like I was crazy in my early 20s, but they don't have to watch it back. So I definitely, every single time I think about it, listen, I have a lot of love for my younger self who was truly out there just trying to basically do what I'm doing now, but just not as well. Like at that time, I thought I'm so ashamed to say this, but I have to say it. I thought I was going to be a rapper. Like
Oh,
truly,
really? Oh my God. Wow.
it's so bad. It's so bad. I can't even, and like I'm great at writing poetry, but at that time I thought I was a rapper. Like my biggest influences were like Drake and J. Cole. And I was like, wow, that's where I want to be. God, I had a rough wake up call
Wow.
because as soon as I spent a lot of time making music in studios, probably over $40,000 before I even got on the show. Just money that I had saved up working in clubs throughout college.
Wow.
And I just was funneling all that into trying to create music for years. And then finally, once I shared it, I mean, the public did not. They were like, what is this? This is awful. And it was a huge reality check for me, like right from the gate of being on reality TV. People see you, they see your personality, they love your personality. You think what you create is going to resonate with them. And then there's such a disconnect because I wasn't creating from an authentic place. So,
Oh, that's interesting. You really
yeah.
feel like you weren't creating from an authentic place?
I definitely not. Yeah, because like no, I'm
Yeah.
not about that life.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not about that life.
Yeah.
So, what am I doing?
Right, right. Yeah.
But yeah, the authenticity came in just like writing lyrics and expressing through that way, which ended up evolving into what I do now anyway. So, it was just an important pivot that I had to make.
Are you still making music?
It's interesting because now I have taken up guitar lessons. I write little singer-songwriter songs, things that do resonate with people, and I do share sometimes and people love. So, but I'm not trying to make a career out of it. I truly just do it as a way for me to just enjoy my time on the planet.
Interesting. Yeah, no, cool. I mean, hey, I think any outlet that we have for creativity and there's this thing that Rick Rubin says, the great Rick Rubin is the producer. He says, he's always wary of bands that he produces who come into the studio who are making music for other people. Like
Yeah,
if they're overly concerned about, oh, what our fans want, what's the catchiest single or what the label wants, it's always shit. It's like you've got to make it for yourself.
exactly. I
Yeah.
think that's so important and beautiful. And Yeah, it's hard as an artist to find that rhythm, I think, in the beginning because you want the attention, but at the same time, like, yeah, it's just part of an individual's process.
So speaking of process, in your time, I mean, you're one of the more, notable people on the challenge, I guess one of the challenge stars, so to speak. I think what there's
Wow,
a
thank you.
dozen, a dozen of them or so that are kind of the notable franchise players and stuff. But you're pretty public and vulnerable about like your process and your struggles along the way.
Mhm.
And, I think we kind of talked about this on the phone the other day, but, from an external standpoint, look, you've even won a season and, you've kind of blown up as an influencer and all of these things, yet you've still kind of struggled and kind of gotten into some depressive states and, some spirals and
Yeah.
experimented with other methods and stuff. So, yeah, if you could just share a little bit about that. And it's like, what was that journey about?
Yeah, yeah. It's so interesting because I don't think I really knew I was going to get on that journey. Like I always knew from a while ago when I was a kid that I struggled a little bit with depression.
Mm,
And I always knew that I could mask it by being like around friends and entertaining. That was like always my gatekeeper. That was my survival habits, like patterns. And then since being on the show and just going through everything, there was such a point where I feel like I was really lifted up in the eyes of the viewers. And then there was a few big downfalls to my character. People commented on the way, I left a relationship and moved on quickly after.
mhm,
People comment, once you get engaged on TV and you have a breakup on TV, there's a lot of speculation about timing and people will say whatever they want to say about you. And so I kind of like went through a really big spiral. I'd say like 75% into my career. I was just like at the bottom of the barrel. I felt like I was at rock bottom. And so I felt like after I kind of got a little bit out of that place, I'm like, well, if people have seen my downfall, I definitely have to share what it looks like to get back up.
yeah.
Because if there's anything about being, not to like make it corny, but like on the challenge, like it's all about resilience. And I'm not a lot, not about, not a, oh my gosh, I can't even say it, not about to let a lot of the trolls like dictate where my story goes. So I
Interesting.
had,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, was it the breakup or was it like the response to the breakup and it being so public?
You know what? I think it was even deeper than that. I think
Mm,
it was just always feeling like a sense of worthlessness.
mm,
Like no matter what I was doing, no matter what I was achieving, it was like none of it was filling the cup.
mm,
And if it did fill the cup for a little bit, well, it was like, okay, well, what's next? Like, oh, how do I keep filling the cup?
mm.
And then if you don't fill it quick enough, and I'm saying all this and it sounds like I'm probably talking about drugs. I'm not. And there's no shame to drugs, but like it's just about like I guess getting that validation fix, I
Yeah.
would call it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the great sort of Western seduction, right? Is that
Yeah.
validation fix and, more and more and more and more. And that also, I mean, yeah, it's not just about drugs. It could be about anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like I struggled a lot with that and I don't have the answer for it at all. I think what I've just kind of come to terms with is I'm just supposed to be where I'm at on my journey. Like
Mm.
I'm not supposed to be too far ahead of it. And I think that for a long time I was trying to control it or trying to, control the outcome, and that's just not going to happen. So
And
I
all
just,
areas of life, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's also interesting too from, just looking at social media kind of in a vacuum, right? I think, part of the poison of social media is that it creates this, I don't know, sort of this avatar of ourselves, this version of ourselves that's kind of like this projected reality into the public that for most people who are popular on social media, that's not who they really are. It's a character. It's a, it's a creation kind of thing. And at some point, you made the choice to also share the mess as well, and to share your heart and your soul and, the messiness. And did that just sort of like hit you one day and you were saying, well, yeah, I've got all of these followers now, and, I think I'm best served being authentic. Was that, yeah?
Yeah. I forget where I was, what talk I was listening to, but I think like somebody was talking about they expected the frequency, the highest frequency to be, they were measuring people's emotional states.
Mhm.
And they expected the highest frequency to be love, but when they measured the highest frequency of an emotional state, it was when somebody was being their most authentic self. And I think that over the time that I've just been being super aware of all of the input coming my way and then also seeing how the output is received, that like authenticity just felt the best place to exist.
Mm.
Because like if you keep it real, like it's just easy to be like, well, what more do you want from me? And
Right.
then I think it's like that surrender that makes it easy to live. There's less pressure when you live like that. So a lot of it, I think in the beginning, I think I did it because I was like, people look at me and they see me as like this really strong challenger. They see me as somebody who's, you know, successful on social media, but like it does not feel that way on a day to day all the time.
Mm.
So I just wanted that transparency to exist. And, a lot of people are really worried about their aesthetics on social media and how they show up. And so much more recently, if not in the last couple years, I've just been showing up to build the audience and to cultivate an audience is that vibrates the same as me. Like,
Yeah.
are we aligned? Are we not? And if we're not, then please leave my space alone. And if you're aligned, like come in, let's figure out like what kind of world we can create together in this land of social media. And that's kind of where I started to do like mindfulness communities. I'm getting trained to to be a meditation coach, all these ways that I can like continue to foster the audience in ways that feel aligned for me. So that's really like how it's evolved.
So was the meditation thing and kind of these more, grounded practices that are, rooted in spirituality and self-inquiry and things like that, were these things that have always been on your radar, or did they happen later?
They kind of happened alongside the journey
Hmm.
because I went on antidepressants for a while
Okay.
and I got to a point with them where I was feeling really good. And then I got the opportunity to go do ayahuasca.
Ooh, tell us about that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. This is a crazy story.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'll get back into that question, but let me give you
Sure.
this groundwork first. When I went to go film the season that I won, it was season 38 of the challenge. So if you're gonna look up the challenge, watch that season, if anything. It's called Ride or Dies, and it was the first season that I went back where I was on antidepressants. It was the first season that I also ran into my ex again for the first time since we had broken up. So we hadn't even seen each other for a year and a half or had any communication, and we were engaged
And the first time you ran into each other was on television.
on television.
Right.
And he came in as a surprise. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I went into that season feeling really good and then 3 weeks in the rug was just ripped out and I was like, "Oh, we're about to face this is about to be real last season for me." Like people are about to see it all go down and there's nothing I can do. I was on a train going 100 miles an hour with just everything that I was feeling inside.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I mean, not obviously, but during that season, I had been doing pretty well, decent enough to get all the way closer to the end of the game. And I just kept saying because we were in Argentina, and I'm like, I know ayahuasca comes from South America. This is the native land. I could feel it in my blood. I'm like, I always wanted to do it, but I was always scared. And I just kept saying it. I was saying it out loud. I was like, if I win this season, I'm going to do ayahuasca. And I kept saying it and kept saying it. Sure enough, me and my partner Devin, we won. And I was so tired from the final. It was 3 days long that I was like, there's not a shot in hell I'm going to do ayahuasca. Hell no. Like, I need to go home. I need to see my cat. So I go home from Argentina, fly all the way back to Jersey. 2 days after I land in New Jersey, this has never happened before. I get a phone call from my friend, Brendan Durrell, who is actually on the show Too Hot to Handle, but he is the men's coach. He's a facilitator. He's not a contestant.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he calls me and he's like, hey, I'm doing an unofficial retreat to the Amazon, to Ecuador. Do you want to come do ayahuasca? And I say, you got to be kidding me. I First of all, he didn't know that I won. He didn't know I was saying that. I'm contractually obligated not to speak about it. So I just knew internally, I'm like, oh, this is a calling. Like if I say no to this now, then I'm anything I ask for in the future, I'm not gonna get. So I said yes, and it was I knew in like pretty much a month in advance that I was going to do it. So I had to come off my antidepressants.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to taper in order to do it safely.
Yes.
Yes.
And so that was my first experience coming off them. So it was a bit of a whirlwind. It was like
Mm.
I knew I was very successful on the antidepressants. I didn't know how long I wanted to be on them for, but I had to come off them if I wanted to do ayahuasca. So I was like, okay,
And just before you continue the story, just for people listening, I mean, people listening always know this, but you know, antidepressants are very dangerous to do with ayahuasca. So you did taper safely and
yes, yes.
under some.
Under Yes, I talked to my doctor about it and I didn't tell her what I was going to do, but I was like, I need to come off them in a month, you know? So help me, help me. And so she helped me. And it definitely is a process. You get brain zaps when you come off them,
Yeah.
even if you do taper off them. So it was a process. And I think before it had even fully hit my body that I was off them, I mean, I had been off them for a month, but I hadn't felt like I went back to the original way that I was. I felt pretty good. And so I went to go do the ayahuasca. And I mean, that could be a whole episode in itself.
I
So
mean, tell us about it. What was the experience like? It was your first
yeah,
ayahuasca experience too, right?
yeah, it was my first one, my only one.
Okay.
And it was basically, we only did ayahuasca. We only sat with the medicine for one day.
Okay.
The first 3 days, we integrated into the space. So we took a little plane out to the jungle. We were with an indigenous community called the Zapata,
Mm.
and we were living in their quarters, and they were amazing. So kind, made sure that we ate vegan while we were there for the most part. Everything was just all the food was made there. And we did a lot of meditating. We did a lot of dream work. Manati, the leader of the tribe, is a dream interpreter as well. And
Mm.
so every day we would sit in the palapa and for hours, we would each talk about our dream in front of one another. And then he would go into what he thinks they meant or how he interpreted them. And then we would do a lot of breath work. It was just a lot. It was a lot in the best way.
That really recalibrated you and got you ready for the medicine.
Exactly. Like you talk about set and setting. Like it was truly creating that space, which was so, so important. And so by the time it was ready to do the medicine and sip ayahuasca, like I felt ready. And then I was like, oh, if I'm really ready, like I think that you take that first sip and you're like, ooh, what's going to happen to me? And there was 20 of us that went on this unofficial retreat. And the girl next to me was immediately, like 30 minutes in, not immediately, 30 minutes in, she starts throwing up. And I'm like, oh, it's coming for me next. I'm like bracing myself. And I just kept saying to myself, and I'm like, thank God I've had all these years of life coaching and therapy because I know how to talk to my inner child. I truly know. It was like a record was playing. And I was like, Tori, no matter what happens, I got you. No matter what you see, we're going to be fine. You're capable of handling it all. Like it was like nonstop. I was talking to myself like that. And I wasn't letting myself go to a scared place because I knew I could have, but I was like, I'm going to redirect this and I'm just, whatever I see, I'm meant to see.
Yeah.
And then the girl next to me started throwing up on the other side. So I was like, oh, it skipped me. I'm like, yes, like maybe I'm the one that gets away with not purging. I was surely wrong about that.
Right. Of
But
course.
before that purge happens, I was like, it was a crazy process. It was like I saw Minotti standing above me, and it's all kind of like a lucid, like a dream.
Mm.
It's not like something that you're seeing like with your eyes. It feels like you're just experiencing a vision, is
Yeah.
how it felt for me.
Yeah.
And the guy's just the Minotti's just standing above me, and he's just like, "Let's go." And he pulls my hand and opens up the stairwell, and we just start walking up these steps.
Mm.
And it's just these steps are just like covered in like it looked like ancient writing. And I get to the top of these stone steps and I look out and I'm on the top of a mountain. And I'm like, wow, like this is where my journey begins. And then from there, I was transported seamlessly into a hallway in the sky. And it was just doors and on both sides of me. And then I opened up one door and I saw myself like experiencing, sitting, talking in front of an audience.
Oh,
and
wow.
sharing something with them. I still to this day don't know.
Oh, that's kind of prophetic though, because that's kind of what you do in some ways.
Yeah, I could like see it. Like I could see what I was wearing, like I could see so many details, but I saw a lot of women in the audience, but I didn't know what it was about.
Mm.
And then I was like, wow, this is so great. Like I remember just smiling, just like sitting there smiling the whole time. Like I could like it felt like a warm hug in my body. And even to the point where I was smiling so much after the experience, Brennan came up to me and was like, T, for the first 45 minutes, you were just sitting there smiling, like straight smiling, like on your face. I wasn't even laying down yet. And everyone around me is like throwing up. So, like, it really, the medicine has its way with you, it does its own thing.
Yeah.
And then so after that, I was like, wow, this must be too good to be true. And then it surely was. I got pulled from that room and put into another room in that hallway. And then I got like transported to a vision of me on my shed as a little kid, like 13 years old, sitting with my cat, my first cat that I ever fell in love with. And I'm just like, oh, this is like where my sadness was born. This is like why I feel so empty. Like it brought me back to feelings of just like experiences that I went through with my family when I was younger and things that were sad and things that I needed to give myself a lot of love for. And I had done that in therapy. I had done that in life coaching, but I hadn't like visually experienced it like that
Mm.
before.
Wow. Amazing.
It was, and then I just start holding myself and bawling my eyes out. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm good. I got myself. And then it was like, no, no, no. Now we got to get it all out. Now we got to get all the shame out, all the guilt out, all of the decisions you made beyond that point. I could feel myself throwing up gook from like under my organs, is the way I can describe it.
Yeah. And that's really, I always, I mean, not me, but I mean, everyone always kind of views that as like those are the deepest recesses of like karmic energies, dark
Yeah.
shadow work that's just stuck inside of our bodies, just
Yes.
to come out, right?
I didn't even have the verbiage for what we're talking about now. Like this is like really what led me into like really deepening my spiritual practice because it was so profound. Because I felt like I was connected to something that I didn't really understand before. Like
Mm.
I always felt it. I always felt it, but I didn't have the experience to give me to show me the direction to reconnect.
Well, I mean, you said it so well, right? I mean, I think psychedelics are really these tools that unearth these little kind of ideas or seeds or downloads or these deep interpersonal realizations that are already inside of us, but for whatever reason, they've gone dormant, they're blank, they're dark. We can't access them in our waking state, and they just
Right.
bring them up to the surface, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it felt like. And it's so crazy to think that we have tools to be
Yeah,
able to
I mean,
reconnect with them.
well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. We all have our tools. We all have the inner healer. We all have that inner
Yeah.
connection to the divine, right? But like the timeline of you doing that ayahuasca journey is really interesting because you had just won the challenge and you were on antidepressants and the whole thing with your ex and TB and all of this stuff. But did you feel like kind of this newfound sense of relief and peace with that specific kind of I don't know, maybe the reasoning for being on the antidepressants? Did you feel a new pathway forward?
So there was a point in my journey
Mm.
where after I was done purging for an hour and a half, I was just sitting there and I had the opportunity to like ask, I think, questions with a little bit of clarity. It didn't feel like the experience was having me, but it felt like I had gone through a lot of the thick of it and now I'm able to kind of communicate. And so
Mm.
like from that place, I was able to call in my grandfather who had just passed and I saw him. And then from that place, I was able to ask about the antidepressants. And so it was like towards the end of the experience that I felt like I got like my Q&A with ayahuasca. That's what it felt like.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. And then from that place, that's when I was like, what's good with the antidepressants? Like, am I going to stay on these or it's like, what, am I going back on them? And then the medicine, like, I just saw this visual of me being like, no, you're not going to be on them anymore. You're going to be okay. And then I expressed that the next day in front of everybody in the Palapa, that 20-person Palapa, that everyone talked about their experience. And I said that. I said, yeah, like I came here to like really sit with my sadness and wonder where it's going to go from here. And I'm not going to go on antidepressants again. And I'll never forget when Menotti told me, he was like, well, you may go on them again, but you're not going to be on them forever. And I was just like, wow, I did not expect him to be that blunt with me. But I'm happy he was because when I left and when I went home, I was able to have like a week of reintegration, but like I truly, and I believe you probably feel the same, like reintegration is a beast.
It's, yeah, that's, I mean, we always use that phrase, well, that's where the work begins, but that
Yeah.
is truth. That's the truth, you know?
It's a beast. And I
Yeah.
don't think I was fully ready for it. And I was scared. And I had just got asked to go on another show.
Uh,
And I felt like, I was like, damn, I performed so well. Like, did it help me calm my nerves before competing? And I almost like used it as a crutch. So I was like, I'm going to go back on them. But I didn't stay on them for longer than a year after that. And so it's been about 6 months that I've been fully off them, that I, again, tapered off them. So,
and you have also used other plant medicines to kind of help. I remember at one point
yeah.
some text or message, you said something like mushrooms were like this kind of connection to have like a deep cry with Mother Earth or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, 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 and even cannabis. I
Mm,
stopped I stopped using cannabis. And I had an experience with so after post ayahuasca experience, I've only had one experience with cannabis and one experience with mushrooms
mm.
because now I see it as such a divine sacred experience. I don't see it the way I used to see it. Like, oh, you go party and you do these like it's
Sure.
not that for me anymore. It's very much like you're about to sit with the loving energy of the universe or you're about to cry with it.
Or both at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like, and we were talking about integration too as well. It's like, you cannot unsee, which makes integration so difficult because, you have to go back to your normal waking state of consciousness and you have to go back to the material world and you have to go back to your life. But how you take those visions and incorporate them into your daily life, it's hard work, right?
It's so hard. And I think like, God, it would be so amazing if everybody had an experience with it.
So how would you kind of define what wellness looks like in your life today?
Mm. Wellness in my life today, I treat it very similarly to how I treat working out. I like always like prioritized my fitness as my wellness. And
Hmm.
now it's so much more integrated than that. It's like even what I eat. I don't want to eat animal products because like I believe that there is a karma attached to it for me. This is
Sure.
my experience.
Totally.
So I like down to what I put in my body, not all the time. Sometimes I have my wine nights, you know what I mean? Like I'm
Oh,
still a
fine.
human. I'm not a saint.
Of course. Of
But
course.
when I think about when I'm like really channeling that energy of wellness, my practice of meditation is in the morning. I do my stream of consciousness journaling when I wake up. I can feel stress in my body and know when I need to take a break from something. I honor where I'm at and I flow instead of being forced
Mm,
and trying to force productivity. That's been my biggest balance lately. It's something that I'm still working to get better at, but that's where when I'm thinking about wellness, it's like the three pillars. It's the physical fitness, it's the spiritual fitness, and then it's the mental fitness or the mental
sure.
experience.
And yet, that's an interesting thing, though, about forcing it, because I think a lot of us, when we get into wellness regimens, whether that is physical, spiritual, or otherwise, we can fall into the trap like, oh, I'm not doing enough.
Hmm.
And then if you kind of don't meet that goal, you're like, oh God, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
I mean, how do you find the balance with that and just being gentle with yourself? And it's like, hey, I'm going to,
Hmm.
meet the goals that I meet. And if I don't, it's okay too.
Yes, I love that. And I think it is just about having a general plan, but then not scheduling out every second. That's kind of what I felt
Okay.
into the plan of doing before. But now, like this week when I work out, instead of writing down my workouts, I just say I'm going to try to work out in between these times. And then after I'm done working out, I write down what I did.
Just as long as you kind of show up and do it.
Yeah, if I show up. And then if I don't show up on Wednesday, then I know like okay, like Thursday I'm going to feel good about it. So for me, working out is the easiest because I have been doing it for so long
Yeah.
that it's like second nature to me. Like I know what body parts to work out. I think for somebody who's maybe in the beginner phase, it's a little different and like a plan would be really helpful. But for me, like it's definitely important that I flow in and out of it or else I'll beat myself up.
One of my favorite meditation teachers, Sharon Salzberg, says, sometimes the most profound kind of moment and intention that is received as a result from meditation is that moment where you sit down on the cushion to actually engage in your practice.
Mm,
What happens after that is just the results. But because then that moment is when you are sitting down with intention and like, okay, I'm going to engage with this practice, and that's where
mhm.
you're setting the intention. And how long you sit for and what happens during it, that's kind of all extra. But I really kind of love that. If, it kind of goes in line with what you're saying. It's like if you just show up, and do your best and put your heart and mind into it, that's enough.
Yeah, and I think like the other thing is like we always, or at least for myself, I'll be like, oh, I have to do this, and then it will turn into a task. But I really try to pull myself back to know I get to do this. Like I get
Mm,
to work out. My body is still physically able enough to do it. I get to experience meditation because I realize how much I enjoy it and how much better my spirit feels when I engage in this and not something else.
yeah. I
So
love
yeah, reframing it a little bit has been helpful.
reframing it. And yeah, and I also did want to kind of tie all this back in this whole kind of way that you painted the story and painted the picture of your trajectory here. And what I asked you earlier about, like, hey, the Tori deal that was on that first season of the challenge and how much you've grown. So, and I told you this on the phone, but one of the kind of qualities of why I thought, you're kind of one of the more, definitely, I think the most interesting of the challengers is that, you use your platform not just to be kind of this influencer, but you're trying to, and successfully doing it, integrate these practices and these passions that you have into your platform as a launch pad to bring wellness to communities and populations that, hey, maybe these might be new ideas to them. Is that kind of how you see what it is that you do and your role in this whole dance?
Yes, and that was so sweet, Zach. Thank you so much. Like truly, like it means so much to me to be seen in that way. And again, I'm so thankful that I've been able to get to know you and like read about your story and read your book because you're also such an interesting person. And I'm so happy that like we can align on so many topics. And I truly wish that this podcast was also me interviewing you. I know your listeners probably know everything about you already, but I'm going to bring back my podcast just to interview you.
Good.
So just wanted to say that.
Good.
But when I think about why I pivoted the way I did, like
Mm,
at some point in time, I looked at social media and I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to get more likes if I post a certain kind of picture
of
or
course.
if I make certain kinds of content. But I felt like a sense of emptiness and like, well, how am I contributing to this tapestry of social media? Like, it's just very like avatar-esque ego.
Mhm.
Like we are starting to idolize these versions of ourselves and it just felt empty. So I think my goal is to continue to figure out how to just learn about it and then share my experiences because I don't ever want to like shine myself in the light of being a teacher. I am not, I don't feel at all that way. I feel I just want to be able to share what I've learned.
Mm.
And it's more like a student, it's like a student sharing platform because
A
yeah,
perpetual student who's just bringing the teachings to others.
yeah, that's really how I feel good about it. And then, it's interesting because there are certain times when I'm like, I wish some of these offerings would have, I guess, quote unquote, performed a little better. Or I wish more people would have came to this Mindful Monday meetup or this meditation that I offered. But it's like when I think about big picture,
Hmm.
then I go into, okay, well, why am I here on the planet? And how can I make sure that when this life is over, I truly feel like I really showed up as a light because I feel like there is so much darkness and I have felt it within me for so long, which is why I think I pivoted so far in the other direction of, well, now I feel like I just want to live in the light because that's where I get to feel the lightest.
Mm. And living in the light, I think also means bringing it to others as well.
Yeah, it's
Right?
definitely. Yeah. I read this book, Many Lives, Many Masters.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we talked about this on the phone, right?
Yeah, we did. I haven't read it, but I know of it. But
Yeah. There's like a brief, I won't ruin it for you because it's amazing. Everyone should read it. But there's a brief portion in it where the psychologist who helps facilitate these past life regressions, which he didn't know he was doing at the time, it was the first time he did it. He basically the woman that he's helping, one of the masters channels through her and starts talking about what happens in between lives and what our soul's journey is really about here. And a lot of it has to do with knowledge sharing. And I
Mm.
already felt like I believed that, but then that kind of cemented it for me. Like it's just like that quote, like there's always gonna be somebody ahead of you, but there's always gonna be somebody behind you. So just like to be in the flow of having one hand reached out forward, one hand reached out backwards, like that's it. I just want to be a link. I just want to be a link in the evolution of human consciousness so that people can live with more light and more love.
I love that, and the knowledge sharing thing too. One of my favorite Ram Dass talks, and now it's also been famously made over music by East Forest, the sitting around the fire thing.
Hmm.
It's just great, And it kind of ends with ultimately all we're doing is sitting around the fire
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and sharing these embers of knowledge and love with each
Hmm.
other, and that is really the goal, right? And in
Yes.
any venue or nook and cranny of social media or the physical world where you can do that successfully. And yeah, and I heard you say, yeah, maybe some of your offerings you've been disappointed that this many people didn't show up, but I don't know. I mean, I see it too as like, hey, even if you get, well, I think your numbers are bigger than most of ours, but I think, if you get 50 people, then the way that trickles out, it's
Mm.
exponential kind of trickling out, which is
Yeah.
the important part. You help 50 people and those 50 people ripple out to another 50 people and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
and really, being really community driven. So, I mean, are your practices that you are kind of offering and sharing with others, are you doing it online? Do you have also do you do it in person too, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there are occasional things that I'll do in person.
Mm.
I have done mini retreats before, and then also it's funny, like the moment just comes out of me. For example, I had a Challenge Mania event where like challengers get together. It's like a live podcast. There's like 200 people in the audience, and like the fire alarm went off one day, and like I had a few wines in me, and I was like, let's go out to the street and do a meditation circle. And so like I got like 20 people together, both guys and women, and we were just like meditating for at least 5 minutes before they turned the alarm off. But I'm like, it's such a passion of mine now that I'll find a way to do it anywhere at any time. And it's just been exciting. But the things that I do more one-on-one, they all happen online. And I'm trying to think of like what are the things that are happening. Well, meditation coaching is the big thing now.
Hmm.
I'm like getting certified to be a coach, and I've learned so much about meditation. I mean, like it's just amazing how different styles of meditation can be beneficial for different types of people. They can access different parts of the brain. And if you're somebody who's a numbers person, you're going to be more adept to doing a focus meditation. If you're somebody who's a very visual person, you're going to do, or a very creative person, you're going to want to do a visualization meditation. If you're somebody who is needs an emotional regulation experience, you're going to want to do an awareness meditation. And so that's what's been so fascinating for me now is to just understand meditation deeper than just the practice. Like, how does it really affect the body? And who would benefit from what kind.
Mm. That's
So,
interesting. Yeah, I don't really hear that often. Often meditation is sort of offered as sort of just a blanket practice,
right.
and so you're kind of saying you can, really work with the person, the client, or whoever who's coming to you to kind of assess their needs and their goals, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And just to help them develop their own practice. Like, I'm not looking to be someone's life coach. I just am looking to sit with them and have a moment where we can figure out based on, where you're at, what would best suit you. So that's becoming my passion now.
Well, I mean, you would say and the life coach thing, and sometimes those monikers can be a little like heavy-handed. I would agree. However, I will say that, especially with social media and kind of the double-edged sword that it has created with young women in today's world, I don't think you being a life coach is really all that bad.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll coach something, you know? I'll go. I don't know if it'd be your life, but I'll coach something. Yeah.
Well, one other thing I did want to ask you is like, all of this kind of these newfound realizations and perspective on life, wellness, spirit, equanimity, all of these things. How do you see that, like if you go back on the challenge and do another season,
Mhm.
like it's a pretty interesting juxtaposition, Tori. I mean, come on, we have to be honest. It's a pretty strange kind of mixture of elements to
Yeah.
combine. How does that all work out?
You know what? I really take a page out of Ram Dass's book for this one because it's just about being human at the same time. Because like I feel like I have to allow myself to have these human experiences so that something like meditation can shine through.
Mm.
Like when I'm there, we do have a lot of downtime and I do meditate and I have led many challengers through
Oh,
meditation.
you have? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's my question.
It was before I was certified. So now I just get to really go in with a lot of the tools and more in-depth understanding. But like, that's not going to stop me from being an entertainer. It's not going to stop me from playing the game and like
Yeah.
it's not going to take the human out of me, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the, keeping the competitive spirit and kind of things like that. And yeah, being an entertainer, it's absolutely fucking lutely, it's a great thing to do. I'm just sort of wondering, like, yeah, during the downtime, if you do sort of, bring in
Yeah.
some light into a very politically charged house, how does that land, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? You can really see the people who do bring that in because I'm not the only one. Like anybody who doesn't know the show isn't going to know these names, but like people who have watched the show, people like Nehemiah,
Yeah, I know he's a yogi and stuff.
he's a yogi, Emily Schramm, she's hosting the Challenge Retreat. She is somebody who's really in tune and just very spiritual. So there are people who bring that to the table. It's just not what's shown on TV because,
Not good TV, yeah.
it's not good TV. People want to watch each other rip each other's throats out. They don't want to watch us soothing each other with a visualization meditation.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, for people listening, what would you like to point them to for what's next for Tori Deal?
Oh, thanks, Zach. Well, listen, you can always click the link in my bio. It has multiple events coming up for things that I'm doing both in person and virtually. And you can find that at my Tori Deal Instagram. So that's at Tori_Deal and Tori spelled with an I. And then honestly, like there's always stuff that I'm posting through my Instagram. It's the best place to get in touch with me. And I'll be opening up my client book soon for doing meditation coaching sessions and would love to, work with some of your listeners if this is interesting to them. But I also have books. I have kids' books.
And
One
poetry
other
books.
I have a poetry book and then I have a kids book coming out in 2026. It's the sequel to my first kids book, which is Bumblebee and Koala Pair.
Oh
So
my God.
every character is a combination of a food and animal. So it's just really creative stuff. I really try to live my life all over the map and just kind of see what my potential is as a soul on this planet. So I really don't hold back from doing much. I try it all, even rapping.
Whether it's successful or not,
Yeah.
absolutely go for it. Well,
Yeah.
Tori, I think you're a fantastic example of transformation and vulnerability in this ever crazy world we live in. So thanks for shining so brightly.
Oh, Zach, thank you. And seriously, I'm so honored to be on this podcast with you. Like, you are so inspiring as well. And I can't wait to continue our conversations and see what other platforms they end up on because it's just been amazing. I
Let's
got
do
to
it.
get out to Austin.
Yeah, please come visit. And yeah, I'll do the same.
Awesome. Well, thanks,
Thanks, Tori.
Zach.